The unexpected delivery. It was an ordinary afternoon when Jason Martin decided to order some meat. He had just moved into his new apartment and was still getting used to his routine. He needed groceries, and after a long week of work, he didn't want to deal with a trip to the supermarket. So he ordered a couple of steaks and some chicken breasts online, figuring it would be a quick delivery to get him through the weekend. When the delivery truck pulled up outside his apartment, Jason didn't think twice. He stepped outside, expecting a box filled with fresh cuts of meat. But what he got wasn't anything like what he imagined. The delivery driver, an older man with a thick accent, handed Jason a small package wrapped in strange, shiny foil. Jason blinked, confused. This is for me?" The man nodded curtly. "Yes, you ordered ... the special." Jason frowned, still unsure of what was happening. "The special? I just ordered some steaks and chicken. No need for anything." "Special." The driver didn't answer. He simply turned and walked back to his truck, leaving Jason standing there, holding a strange package. Shaking his head, Jason went inside and set the package on the kitchen counter. He was tired, hungry, and just wanted to relax for the night. He carefully tore open the wrapping, expecting to find a few cuts of meat sealed in plastic. But what he found instead left him frozen in place. Inside, the foil was not meat, not anything remotely like what he had expected. Instead, there were two women twin sisters, both appearing to be in their 20s. They were unconscious, lying in the package like they had been carefully placed there. Jason's heart skipped a beat. He stepped back, eyes wide. Was this some kind of joke? A prank? He looked again. These weren't ordinary women. Their skin had an otherworldly glow, like moonlight reflecting off water. Their features were sharp, beautiful, but not quite human. Their hair shimmered, flowing like strands of liquid silver. Jason's mind raced. This couldn't be real. It was like something out of a science fiction movie. But they were here right in front of him. He snapped to action, running to his phone. But just as he was about to dial 911, the two women stirred. Slowly, one of them opened her eyes and looked directly at him. Jason froze, his hand trembling. Over the phone, "Where ... are we?" the woman asked, her voice soft but clear. Her accent was unfamiliar, almost melodic, like nothing Jason had ever heard before. The other woman groaned, slowly sitting up. Her eyes, when they opened, were an eerie shade of violet. She looked around, her gaze fixed on Jason for a long moment before she spoke. "This is not Earth, but it will be. It's what we came for." Jason took a step back, his mind struggling to process the situation. "What ... are you? Who are you?" The first woman, who seemed to be the more awake of the two, stood up and glanced around the small apartment. "We are the last of the Kareth. Our kind ... we are dying. Our home is no longer safe. We came here ... to survive." Her voice trailed off, as though she had said this many times before, almost like a rehearsed line. Jason blinked, still unsure whether he was dreaming. "Kareth? What's that supposed to mean?" "I just ordered some meat. I didn't ask for this." The woman nodded slowly, as if understanding his confusion. "This is ... not meat. We arrived in place of what you requested." A misunderstanding. Perhaps. Jason rubbed his eyes, half expecting to wake up from some bizarre dream. But the pain in his chest was real. He could feel his heart pounding. "You're saying you were sent to me? I was supposed to get steaks, and instead, I get ... two aliens?" The second woman stood up then, her movements graceful despite her clear disorientation. "Not aliens. We are Kareth. We come from far beyond the stars. And we are here because we need your help." Jason's brain was reeling. Help? They wanted help? He was just a guy living in an apartment, trying to get by. This was way beyond anything he could handle. But the more he stared at them, the more he realized they weren't just playing a game. These women, these beings, were real. Help with what? Jason asked, finally managing to speak again. The first woman walked toward him, her violet eyes shining with a mixture of urgency and desperation. Our people are dying. We need a place to stay, a place to rebuild. You were chosen ... to help us. Jason blinked in disbelief. Chosen? Chosen for what? She paused, as though searching for the right words. You are the key. You, and what you can offer. We need a human to help us revive our race. It will require more than just shelter. It will require us to join together in ways you cannot. Yet understand? The second sister stepped forward then, her tone suddenly more serious. You think you are just buying meat, but you were part of something much greater than you ever imagined. Jason felt a cold sweat break out on his forehead. I don't ... T ... I don't understand. This isn't real. This can't be real. The first woman stepped closer, her voice calm but insistent. It is real, and you will help us. If you don't, everything will be lost, not just for us, but for your world too. Jason's heart pounded in his chest. He was in over his head. This wasn't just some weird delivery mistake. These two women, these alien sisters, were here for something much more than he could comprehend. And now, whether he liked it or not, he was involved ... as the silence in the room grew thicker. Jason had to make a decision. Could he help them? Or was he walking into something far more dangerous than he could ever imagine? One thing was certain. His life would never be the same again. A dangerous offer, Jason couldn't shake the feeling that his world had just turned upside down. Two beautiful alien sisters, claiming to be the last of the Kareth race, were standing in his small apartment, and they needed his help. The situation was so surreal that Jason wondered if he was still dreaming. The shock of it all was too much to process. Why me? He asked, still trying to make sense of everything. You said I was chosen. Chosen for what exactly? The first woman, the one who had woken up first, looked at him with those glowing violet eyes and took a deep breath, as if preparing herself to explain something she had rehearsed 1,000 times. Our people have been running from extinction for centuries. The last remnants of our race have scattered, but we cannot survive much longer without ... help. We cannot rebuild on our own. You are the one who can give us a chance. Jason shook his head. I'm just a regular guy. I don't know anything about saving alien species. You've got the wrong person. The second woman, who had remained silent till now, stepped forward. Her violet eyes locked onto his, and for the first time, he saw the weight of fear behind them. You don't understand, she said in a voice that was unexpectedly gentle. The Kareth are powerful, yes, but our power is also our curse. We once ruled over galaxies, but now we are broken. We are at the mercy of forces we cannot control, and we need someone who can help us change our fate. Jason's thoughts raced. What are you asking me to do? I don't have anything to offer you. We need you to help us rebuild our race. The first woman said softly, almost too softly. It's not just about shelter. It's more complicated than that. To save us, you must give us something that Earth cannot. Something only you can provide. Jason blinked. Wait, what are you saying? You want me to? The woman nodded, her expression serious. Yes, we need your genetic contribution to rebuild our species. We need your help to repopulate. We need the strength of both our races to ensure that the Kareth survive. The words hit him like a punch to the gut. You're asking me to father your children? Jason stammered, feeling his face flush with disbelief. Is that what this is all about? The second sister stepped forward again, her tone shifting to something more urgent. Yes, but it's not just about having children. It's about the survival of our kind, the continuation of our legacy. We have no choice, and neither do you. We can't do this without you. Jason backed up, his mind spinning. He had been expecting a simple, strange encounter, perhaps a misunderstanding. But not this. This was something much bigger, much more terrifying than he could have ever imagined. Two alien sisters, beautiful, seemingly innocent, standing in his apartment, asking him to play a part in a race's survival by creating a new generation. Why me? Jason repeated, his voice quieter now. Why do you need me? You said you could have anyone. You could find anyone else. Why me? The first sister, whose name Jason still didn't know, walked toward him, her gaze never leaving his. You're human, she said, her voice soft but filled with meaning. And your people are strong. You can help us rebuild what was lost. But also, we chose you because of your will to survive. You've proven yourself in small ways every day. You are more than just a man, Jason. You are the key to something far greater than you can understand. Her words confused him, but somehow they also comforted him. There was truth in what she said, an undeniable weight in her words that made him feel like there was no escape from what they were asking. You're asking me to make a choice between two worlds, Jason said, more to himself than to them. I'm not ready for that. I can't just give up everything for you. For this. The second sister stepped up beside her sibling, her voice unwavering. This is not just about us. This is about Earth too. If we fail, your planet will be next. The enemies who wiped out our world are coming for yours next. You have no idea what kind of power they wield, but we do. And we need your help to defeat them. Only then can we rebuild. Jason's mind reeled at the thought. He had no idea who or what these enemies were. His mind was overwhelmed with questions, fears, and doubts. What kind of enemies could destroy an entire species? And why were they coming for Earth? You're telling me that Earth is in danger, but this isn't just about saving us, is it? Jason asked. This is about more than just your race surviving. You're asking me to join in something much bigger than I can understand. The first sister nodded. Yes, the Kareth have powerful enemies, and we need your help to stop them. You can either walk away and watch everything fall apart, or you can help us rebuild and defend your world. Together, we can ensure the survival of both of our species. Jason ran his fingers through his hair, his head spinning with the enormity of it all. His life, as he knew it, was never going to be the same, but deep down, he understood something. He could say no, but that would mean leaving these two alien women, who were now tied to him in ways he couldn't yet understand, to face whatever was coming alone. And he couldn't live with that. He took a deep breath. All right, he sighed, his voice steady but uncertain. I'll help. But I need more answers. I need to know everything. I'm not going into this blind. The second sister smiled, a glimmer of hope in her eyes. You have made the right choice, Jason. The future of both our species is in your hands now. Jason nodded, the weight of his decision pressing heavily on his chest. He wasn't sure if he was making the right choice, but there was no turning back now. His life and the future of both worlds were now entwined with the fate of these two alien sisters. The alien connection. Jason sat in stunned silence for a long moment after he agreed to help the alien sisters. He had no idea what he was getting himself into, but he knew one thing for sure. His life was no longer just about him. He was about to become a part of something much larger, something he couldn't possibly comprehend. The two alien sisters, who had appeared so fragile and beautiful at first, now seemed much more than he had originally thought. They weren't just lost travelers from another world. They were warriors of their own kind, carrying the weight of their entire species' future on their shoulders. And somehow he was involved. Lyra, the older of the two sisters, was the first to break the silence. She spoke with a tone of reassurance, as if she could sense the confusion and unease coursing through him. "Jason," she said softly, "you need to understand the gravity of what we've asked of you. The Carith, our people, are not just another species. We have the power to change the course of this galaxy. But that power is locked away, and it's been stolen from us. The enemies we face are not just alien invaders. They are destroyers, bent on erasing everything in their path." Jason looked at her, still struggling to make sense of it all. "I don't know anything about galactic wars or ancient powers. I'm just a regular guy. How am I supposed to help you save your people? I'm not equipped for this." Lyra smiled, a trace of sadness in her eyes. "You are more capable than you think. The Carith have always understood the importance of balance between species. And while we have great power, we've forgotten how to wield it in harmony with others. That is where you come in." Her younger sister, Ilara, stood next to her. Eyes narrowed in thought. "We've been taught that the Carith are the rulers of the stars, that our blood is stronger than all others. But that strength has been misused. We've been blinded by our pride, and it has brought us to the edge of extinction. You, Jason, are the one who can help us see clearly again." Jason felt his heart race. He had no idea what she meant by that, but the weight of her words felt heavy. He had agreed to help, yes, but this was beginning to feel much more intense than just sharing a few human traits. He had no training for this kind of responsibility. But before he could ask another question, Lyra continued, "There is a bond between us now, Jason," Lyra said, her voice gentle. "Not just physical, but something deeper. Our people, our future, now depends on the bond we share. You are part of our legacy now." Jason shook his head. "I don't understand. What kind of bond?" Ilara stepped forward, her violet eyes full of emotion. "It's not just about having children. It's about more than just our survival. The Carith once held the power to create life, not just through birth, but through an energy that flowed between us. We were able to heal the universe, make it stronger, until we lost our way. Now only the children of the Carith and humans can revive that power. You are our key." Jason's mind was spinning. He had gone from ordering meat to being thrust into the middle of an alien race's fight for survival. And now he was being told that somehow his connection to these two sisters through their strange alien ritual was the key to unlocking unimaginable power. "This energy," Jason said slowly, "is it ... dangerous?" Ilara's expression darkened. "Yes, the energy that flows through us is not something to be taken lightly. It is ancient, powerful, and it can either save us or destroy us all." Lyra nodded. "That is why we need you, Jason. The Carith once harnessed this energy to create a peaceful empire, but we lost it through our own hubris. We thought we were invincible, and in doing so, we became our own worst enemy." Jason was overwhelmed. He had never asked for any of this. He had never expected to find himself in the middle of an intergalactic conflict that could decide the fate of entire species. But the more he listened to Lyra and Ilara, the more he realized that there was no turning back now. "So, what's the plan?" he asked, trying to steady his breath. "How do we fix this?" Lyra turned toward him, her eyes steady. "First, we need to understand the true nature of the energy we're after. To do that, we need to find the Carith archives, ancient records that hold the secrets of our people's past. Only by unlocking that knowledge can we harness the energy and rebuild what was lost." Jason felt his stomach twist. "And where do we find these archives? How can we even start?" Ilara looked at him seriously. "They are scattered across the galaxy, hidden in places where few have dared to go. And we are not the only ones searching for them. Jason raised an eyebrow. You mean there are other people? Or aliens trying to get their hands on this power? Yes, Lyra replied. There are other species that want the power for themselves. They will stop at nothing to control it. If we don't find the archives first, we may lose everything. Jason felt the weight of her words. This wasn't just a race for survival. It was a race against enemies who would kill to control the Kyrith's ancient power. The burden was becoming clearer by the second. He took a deep breath. So what now? Lyra looked at him, her gaze unwavering. Now we go to the first location. We search for the knowledge we need to unlock the power. And we do whatever it takes to stop those who would use it for destruction. Jason nodded, a new sense of purpose growing in him. This wasn't just about helping the sisters anymore. This was about saving not just Earth, but the entire galaxy from falling into chaos. And as they prepared to leave his apartment, Jason realized the journey ahead would change everything. He had no idea what dangers lay ahead, but one thing was certain. He was no longer just a man caught in a misunderstanding. He was now part of something far bigger than himself. A new chapter of his life was beginning. And with the alien sisters by his side, he would face whatever came next. The first attack Jason had barely processed the full weight of his decision when the first sign of trouble arrived. The Kareth sisters, Lyra and Alara, were preparing to leave the apartment to begin their search for the Kareth archives. Jason, still reeling from everything they had told him, had no idea what he was getting into. This wasn't just about helping them. It was about saving humanity from an enemy he couldn't even begin to understand. They were preparing to leave when a loud bang shook the building. It came from outside, something powerful, something explosive. Jason's heart raced as he glanced at Lyra and Alara, who looked as startled as he felt. We're not alone, Lyra said, her voice sharp with alarm. She immediately turned toward the window, her eyes scanning the skyline for any sign of the threat. What's happening? Jason demanded, his mind already racing. He had no idea what kind of enemies the Kareth were up against, but he was about to find out. Alara, always more cautious than her sister, was already moving toward the door. They've found us. We're not safe here anymore. We need to leave. Now. Jason grabbed his jacket and followed them out, his mind still spinning, with the realization that his life was no longer his own. His once simple existence had been replaced by a life on the run, caught in the middle of an alien war. And now, it seemed, the war had come to him. As they reached the lobby of the building, the sound of distant explosions echoed again. This time, it was closer. Much closer. There's no time to waste, Lyra said urgently, pushing Jason toward the exit. They're coming for us. Jason couldn't ignore the fear creeping into his chest. Whoever these enemies were, they were here for something. And the Kareth sisters, his only allies in this strange new world, seemed to know exactly who they were. Once outside, the streets were chaotic. Sirens blared, and people were running, shouting, trying to find cover. The city had descended into panic. Jason looked around, trying to make sense of what was happening, but he could see nothing but confusion and chaos. Where do we go? Jason asked, breathless as he caught up with the sisters. We need to get to a safe location. It's the only way we can plan our next move, Lyra said, her eyes darting around, scanning the area. Follow us. Stay close. They hurried through the streets, dodging panicked pedestrians. Jason's heart raced as he tried to keep up. His mind kept flashing back to the sisters' words about the Kyrith enemies, about their need to find the archives. He had no idea how close they were to finding them, or what exactly the enemy wanted, but it was clear they were going to stop at nothing to destroy the Kareth. As they reached a quieter part of the city, Jason suddenly heard the unmistakable sound of engines approaching. He looked up to see a sleek, dark ship descending from the sky, its massive engines roaring. It wasn't a military craft. It looked far more advanced, with a design unlike anything Jason had ever seen before. And it was coming straight toward them. "There they are," Ilara whispered, a mix of fear and determination in her voice. "They found us." Jason's stomach dropped. This wasn't just an attack, it was a pursuit. And it was clear that the enemy wasn't going to stop until they had what they wanted. "We need to move now," Lyra shouted, grabbing Jason's arm and pulling him down a narrow alley. "Stay low, stay quiet. They can't find us." They sprinted through the alley, their footsteps echoing in the silent space. Jason's pulse raced in his ears, his mind whirling with questions. Who were these people chasing them? Why were they so determined to capture the sisters? And how was he supposed to protect them from an enemy he couldn't even see? They stopped in front of a nondescript door in the back of an old building. Lyra quickly pulled out a small device from her pocket, pressing it against the door. There was a soft click, and the door creaked open. They slipped inside, and Jason followed closely behind. Once inside, Lyra quickly secured the door, locking it behind them. The room they entered was dark, filled with old furniture and crates. Jason felt the weight of the moment settle in. This was no longer just about two strange women showing up at his door. It was about survival. It was about keeping the Kerith alive and ensuring that Earth didn't fall into the hands of an unknown enemy. "We'll be safe here for now," Lyra said, her voice calmer now that they were out of immediate danger. She looked at Jason. "But this won't last long. We need to move fast. We need to find the archives before they do." Jason swallowed hard, trying to process everything. His life had turned upside down in the span of a few days. He was caught between two alien races, one he barely understood, and one that wanted to destroy them. And the fate of Earth hung in the balance. As he turned to the sisters, he noticed something different in Lyra's expression. It wasn't just the fierce determination he had seen before. There was a deeper fear in her eyes now. "What's going on?" Jason asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "What are we really running from?" Lyra took a deep breath, looking away. "We're not just running from the enemies who want to control our power. We're running from the truth, Jason. The truth about what the Kerith were, and what they are now." Jason didn't fully understand, but the fear in her voice was real. Something was wrong. Something much bigger than just an alien invasion. And it was coming for them. "We don't have much time," Ilara said, her tone sharp, pulling Jason out of his thoughts. "They're coming for us. And if they get their hands on us, everything will be lost." Jason nodded, determination settling in his chest. He didn't know what he had gotten himself into, but one thing was clear. He wasn't going to let these two sisters, these two aliens, go down without a fight. He had made a choice, and now there was no turning back. The first attack had already begun, and Jason had a feeling that it was only going to get worse from here. The choice the days following the attack had blurred into a constant state of chaos. Jason had never imagined his life would be turned upside down by alien visitors, let alone become a part of their desperate struggle for survival. But here he was, hidden in an old building, trapped between two worlds, the one he knew and the unknown, alien world that was now a part of his own. Lyra and Ilara had done their best to keep him safe, teaching him what they could about their race and the enemies that pursued them. But Jason's head was spinning. The more he learned, the more it felt like they were all walking on the edge of a cliff, with no way of knowing when the ground would fall away beneath them. The Kerith had once been a proud and powerful species, with the ability to control energy and shape the universe around them. But now they were on the verge of extinction, and it was up to Jason, a man who had never asked for any of this, to help them survive. But what had started as a simple mission to help two alien sisters had quickly become a much larger responsibility. Jason was no longer just helping them. He was becoming part of their struggle. The weight of the Kyrith's survival pressed on his shoulders with each passing day. Lyra stood in front of him now, her gaze intense, as if searching for something in him. "Jason," she said, her voice softer than it had been before. "We've been on the run long enough. The time has come for you to decide what you want to do. Do you want to help us, or do you want to go back to your old life?" Jason stared at her, his heart pounding. The question had been building ever since the first attack, and now it was here. His world had changed beyond recognition, and there was no going back. He had spent every night since the attack replaying the events in his mind, trying to figure out what to do. At first, he had been driven by a need to survive. But now, as he looked at Lyra and Ilara, something more had developed. He had grown attached to them, to their cause. He had seen their vulnerability, their desperation, and the immense burden they carried. They weren't just alien sisters anymore. They were his allies, his responsibility. "I don't know if I can go back to the life I had," Jason replied, his voice quiet but firm. "Everything's changed now. I'm in this whether I want to be or not." Lyra nodded, her expression hardening as though she had expected this. "I know. That's why I'm asking you to decide. We can't continue to run. We need to act, and we need you to help us take the next step." Jason clenched his fists, the weight of the decision pressing on him. He didn't want to be caught. In the middle of a war he didn't understand, but as much as he wanted to go back to the life he knew that wasn't possible anymore. The stakes were too high. The Kareth were depending on him, and Earth, his home, was at risk. "Tell me what I need to do," he said, his voice steady now, as the decision became clear. "I'm in. I'll help you." Lyra's expression softened, a small but genuine smile tugging at the corners of her lips. "You've made the right choice." Ilara stepped forward, her eyes bright with a mixture of relief and determination. "We need to move quickly. The Kareth archives are located in a hidden city on a distant planet. It's our only hope of finding the knowledge we need to fight back." Jason nodded, but a new wave of uncertainty hit him. "And what about the enemies you mentioned? The ones who are hunting you?" Lyra's eyes darkened, her voice quiet but filled with urgency. "They're closing in? If we don't get to the archives before they do, everything we've worked for will be lost. They want the power we're seeking, and they will stop at nothing to get it." Jason felt a cold shiver run down his spine. The thought of facing these unknown enemies made his stomach churn. But there was no turning back now. He had made his decision. "How do we get there?" Jason asked. Lyra and Ilara exchanged a glance. "We have a ship," Ilara said, her voice low, "but we need to move fast. Once the enemy detects our location, they'll be on us in minutes." Jason's heart raced. The tension in the room was palpable. They had no time to waste. He had seen how far the Kareth were willing to go to protect themselves, and now it was his turn to prove he could do the same. "We leave now," Jason said, his voice firm. "I'm ready." The sisters nodded in unison. Lyra stepped forward, placing a hand on his shoulder, her gaze filled with determination. "Then let's go. Together we can change everything." With that, they moved quickly, making their way to the ship that would take them to the Kareth archives. The plan was simple: get to the archives before their enemies did, and unlock the secrets that could change the course of their struggle for survival. But as Jason walked beside the two sisters, he couldn't shake the feeling that they were walking into something far more dangerous than any of them understood. The enemies they were running from weren't just alien invaders. They were something more insidious, something capable of destroying everything in their path. As they boarded the ship, the engines roared to life, and Jason braced himself for What was to come? The journey ahead would be filled with danger, uncertainty, and difficult choices. But one thing was clear: his life would never be the same again. And as the ship lifted off into the unknown, Jason made a vow to himself. Whatever came next, he would fight. For the sisters, for the Careth, and for Earth. There was no turning back now. The fate of two worlds rested in his hands. Betrayal and truth. The journey through the stars had been tense, with every passing moment feeling heavier than the last. Jason, now more than ever, was questioning the path he had chosen. The Careth sisters, Lyra and Alara, had shared everything. They could about their race and their enemies, but despite their best efforts, the weight of their secrets was becoming impossible to ignore. There were still so many unanswered questions. What exactly was the power they sought to unlock? And why did it seem to have such devastating consequences? The ship they were traveling on was sleek and advanced, built to navigate through deep space at incredible speeds. Yet, despite the ship's comfort, Jason couldn't shake the uneasy feeling gnawing at his gut. The Careth's mission was clear: find the archives, unlock their ancient power, and rebuild their race. But Jason was starting to realize that the truth about the Careth might be far darker than they had let on. He'd been silent for most of the journey, reflecting on what had transpired, but his thoughts were interrupted when Lyra approached him, her expression serious. "Jason," she said, her voice low, "we're almost there. The archives are located on a desolate planet, hidden away from everyone. There's no time to waste. We need to unlock the power before the enemy finds us." Jason nodded, his mind still swirling with doubts. "And if the enemy catches up with us?" he asked, his voice edged with concern. Alara, who had been silent until now, stepped forward, her face set in a determined expression. "They will catch up, eventually. But if we get to the archives first, we might be able to unlock the power before they do. We cannot afford to fail. The future of our species depends on it." Jason swallowed hard. It wasn't just the Careth's future on the line, it was Earth's too. But something in their words didn't sit right with him. He still didn't fully trust them. He had helped them, yes, but there was a nagging feeling in the back of his mind that they weren't telling him the whole truth. "Lyra," Jason said, his voice carefully controlled, "you've said a lot about the power we're trying to unlock, but you've never really explained what it is. What exactly are we dealing with?" Lyra hesitated for a moment, as though weighing whether or not to tell him the full truth. "It's a force, Jason, a power that was once used by the Careth to control the fabric of the universe. We used it to shape worlds, to create life, and to manipulate energy. But we lost control of it centuries ago. If we don't regain it, we will perish." Jason's heart raced as the implications of her words settled in. "So, this power, it's dangerous. You've told me that it can either save or destroy everything. And you want to unlock it?" Lyra's eyes darkened. "We have no choice. If we don't unlock it, the Careth will die out completely. We will become extinct. The enemies we face, the ones who want to control the power, will not stop until they have it. They will destroy everything we've built." Jason stared at her, his mind struggling to keep up with the rapidly unfolding situation. "You're telling me that we're going to awaken a force that could destroy everything? Even Earth?" Alara stepped forward, her voice urgent. "If we don't, the enemies will use it against us. The power isn't just ours. It's something that belongs to the universe. And if it falls into the wrong hands, the consequences will be catastrophic. The balance of everything could be disrupted." Jason's thoughts were racing, his confusion deepening. He had agreed to help the sisters, but now he realized that his role in all of this was far more dangerous than he had ever imagined. Was unlocking this power really the right thing to do? Was it worth the risk of losing everything he knew? Before he could ask another question, the ship's alert system suddenly blared to life, cutting through his thoughts like a knife. Enemy ships detected. The voice of the ship's AI rang out, cold and mechanical. "They are closing in." Jason's heart sank. The enemies had found them, faster than he had expected. The sisters had been right. There was no escaping this war. It was time to act. "We have to move," Lyra said, urgency in her voice. "We'll reach the planet in a few hours." "We need to prepare." Jason nodded and followed them to the ship's control room, his mind still spinning. As the ship hurtled toward the desolate planet where the archives were hidden, Jason's thoughts were consumed by one thing: betrayal. Something wasn't adding up, and he had a feeling that the truth about the Careth and their intentions was darker than he had been led to believe. Once inside the control room, Lyra and Ilara took their positions, preparing for the descent. Jason stood at the back, observing them closely. He couldn't shake the feeling that they were hiding something from him. The way they had danced around the details of their mission, the vague explanations about the power they sought, it all felt like a carefully constructed lie. And then it hit him. The real reason they had come to Earth, the real reason they needed him, it wasn't just about the Kyrith's survival. It was about control. They needed the power to control the universe, to reshape it according to their own vision. Jason's stomach churned. He wasn't just a pawn in their game. He was a key player in a cosmic struggle for dominance. And if he wasn't careful, he might end up playing right into their hands. As the ship entered the planet's atmosphere, Jason knew one thing for sure. He had to make a choice. Was he willing to help the sisters unlock this dangerous power? Or would he find a way to stop them before it was too late? The truth was clear now. The fight wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about control. And Jason wasn't sure he could trust the sisters, or anyone, when it came to the power they sought to wield. The enemy was closing in, and time was running out. Would Jason make the right choice before it was too late? A new legacy. The planet below them was a barren wasteland. The surface cracked and scorched from ages of neglect, a fitting place for the secrets of an ancient civilization to be buried. Jason stood at the observation window of the ship, staring at the desolate landscape below, his mind still reeling from everything that had happened. The Careth sisters had made their intentions clear: unlock the power that had once belonged to their people, or face extinction. But the more Jason thought about it, the less he believed their story. The more he saw their desperation, the more he wondered if he was being manipulated. Lyra and Ilara were busy preparing the ship for landing, checking coordinates, and securing supplies. Jason's thoughts, however, were elsewhere. The archives, hidden deep within the planet, held answers that could change everything. He wasn't sure if he was prepared to hear them. "Are you ready?" Lyra's voice broke through his thoughts. Jason turned to face her. Her expression was serious, but there was a flicker of hope in her violet eyes. "Are you?" he asked, his voice strained out. Lyra nodded. "We have no choice. This is the only way. The power we need is within those archives. It will change the course of our future." Jason hesitated. "And what about Earth? What happens when you unlock this power? What will it mean for us?" Lyra's gaze softened as she stepped closer. "I promise you, Jason, once we unlock it, we'll stop running. We'll rebuild. We'll make sure both our people thrive. But we need you to help us. No one else can do it." Jason knew that. He wasn't just helping them. He was stepping into something much larger than himself, something that could have consequences far beyond his understanding. Still, there was no going back. He had already chosen his path. Let's get it over with. They made their way to the landing bay as the ship descended closer to the surface. Jason's mind raced with everything he had learned. The power the Careth sought was not just a tool, it was an energy capable of reshaping life itself. They wanted it to rebuild their race. But what if it was more than that? What if it could destroy everything in its path? The ship touched down softly, and Jason followed the sisters into the cold, barren landscape. The wind was harsh, carrying the scent of something long dead, and the air was thin. The planet was no longer capable of sustaining life, but the Karith had managed to hide their ancient archives here, tucked away in a place that no one had thought to search. Lyra led the way, her steps sure and determined. Alara kept close, her eyes darting around as if she expected something to jump out at them. They reached a large metallic door, buried beneath a layer of rock, almost invisible to the naked eye. Lyra worked quickly, pressing a device to the door. It slid open with a soft hiss, revealing a dark corridor leading underground. "This is it," Lyra said, her voice low, almost reverent. Jason felt the weight of the moment settle over him. This was the heart of their race's history, the answers to all the questions they had spent their lives running from. He didn't know if he was ready for what lay ahead, but there was no turning back. As they moved deeper into the archive, the walls seemed to come alive with a strange energy. Ancient markings, glowing faintly, covered the walls, and Jason could feel a hum in the air. The deeper they went, the more oppressive the atmosphere became, as if the very planet was alive, with power waiting to be unleashed. At the end of the corridor, they reached a massive chamber. In the center of the room was a pedestal, surrounded by strange symbols and glowing runes. The air here was thick with energy. Jason could feel it pulling at him, as if the power of the Karith was reaching out to him. "This is where it all began," Lyra said, stepping forward. "This is the heart of our race's power. And now, with you, we can unlock it." Jason stepped closer, his gaze fixed on the pedestal. There was no going back. He didn't know how he could help them, but he knew he had to try. Lyra placed her hand on the pedestal, and the runes around it began to glow brighter. Alara stepped forward, her eyes locked on the pedestal. "We have to do this together, Jason. Only through our bond can we unlock the full potential of the Karith power." Jason hesitated for a moment before placing his hand next to Lyra's. As soon as his skin touched the pedestal, a surge of energy shot through him, and the world around him seemed to ripple. His mind was flooded with visions of Karith history, their rise to power, and their eventual downfall. He saw the destruction of their civilization, the betrayal that had led to their near extinction, and the terrible cost of their power. In that moment, Jason understood. The Karith had been given the power to shape the universe, but they had lost control of it. They had used it recklessly, and now it was either their salvation or their doom. "You feel it too?" Alara asked, her voice filled with urgency. Jason nodded, his body trembling from the overwhelming power. "This is too much. It's too dangerous." Lyra's face hardened. "It's our only chance. We need to control it. We can't let it consume us." But even as she spoke, the power in the chamber began to surge. The energy was growing uncontrollably, and Jason felt himself being pulled deeper into the vision of the Karith's past. He could see their destruction, the bloodshed, and the lives they had taken in their quest for control. The power was not something to be wielded. It was a force that could destroy everything in its path. "Lyra!" Jason shouted, struggling to keep his balance as the energy threatened to overwhelm him. "We can't control this. It's too much." But Lyra was already lost in the power, her eyes glowing brightly as she reached out toward the pedestal. "We must take it. We must reclaim what was lost." Jason stepped back, fear flooding through him. This wasn't just a weapon, it was a curse. And it was going to destroy them all. Suddenly, there was a loud explosion from the entrance of the chamber, followed by the sound of footsteps. The Karith's enemies had arrived. Jason knew that the time for decision was now. The power was too dangerous to control, and if they didn't act quickly, they would all be consumed by it. With one last desperate move. Jason grabbed Lyra's hand and pulled her away from the pedestal. "We need to leave now." The ground shook violently as the chamber's walls cracked open, and Jason knew that whatever had been unleashed in this place could not be undone. The Kyrith's future, his future, was now in his hands. And the fight to save both their worlds had only just begun.